Hi class, in this video I want to talk a little bit about the location of these works of art that you're studying. So a lot of these paintings and sculptures are now in museums, but they were originally intended for places of worship. And a lot of times you'll still find the works in their original location for which they were commissioned. Uh, the Sistine Chapel is a great example of that. Here we have Santa Maria dei Frari. This is a church in Venice, and it's rather unassuming on the outside. When I was in Venice last, it was 2015, and I was trying to find this church all day long because it had two things I wanted to see in it, both painted by Titian. And it took all day to find it, but finally around 5 p.m. I got there and walked in to find directly in front of me the Assumption of the Virgin. And then off to the side is the Pesaro Madonna by Titian. So Titian, he was an apprentice of Giorgione's. Giorgione himself was apprenticed to Bellini, or in the workshop of Bellini. And in the lecture notes, I provided a link so that you can see what Bellini's work looked like, and then compare it to Giorgione, and then you'll look at Titian. There's a lot of similarities between the work. There's a softness, there's a really quiet beauty to the images, I think. And there's this graceful movement in all three of their works. But let's talk a little bit about the compositions in Venetian works of art. So in Venice, they are working more with oil paint, and that has to do with the weather. And also these artists, they really liked the detail that oil afforded them. So these paintings are not frescoed on walls, they're painted on panels, or in this case on canvas, and then placed into their location within the church. So the Pesaro Madonna that you see here, the focal point is not in the middle. So other Renaissance works, whether it was in Florence during the early Renaissance or Rome during the high Renaissance, you were usually finding the focal point, or the area of emphasis, right in the center of the painting. And there was this symmetry, right? You split the image in half and it almost mirrors itself. That type of balance, symmetry, a central focal point, it made the other Renaissance works feel calm and stable. There was this methodical organization to the compositions. But in Venice, things are starting to turn a little bit. So instead of that equilateral triangle grouping the figures in a Renaissance painting, in Venice, you'll find the right triangle, which is shown up here in my animation. The focal point here is the Madonna, right? The Pesaro Madonna, it's named for the family who commissioned this piece. And there's a lot of movement here just by virtue of putting the focal point off to the side. Your eye moves around the whole composition. So think about that. When you're looking at a painting or any work of art, really look at the scale, right? And imagine yourself next to it. This painting, it is 16 feet tall, and it's set up about 4 feet from the ground. So it's almost all above your eye level. It's monumental. The figures are life size. And as you look to Mary, you notice that she looks down. That's actually one of the patrons. Little baby Jesus looks off to the side at one of the saints who's gesturing again over members of the family. So our eye, it's brought to the Virgin Mary because the light is hitting her, right? And all of the figures lead up to her holding the baby Jesus. But then they're their eye contact goes elsewhere. So your eye follows their eye, the direction of their gaze. That's implied line, right? That's how the artist makes you move through the composition. The rest of the figures, they look at each other, they look back up. My favorite part of this painting is actually the little angels that are messing with the cross up above these little stormy clouds that seem to hang in front of these classical columns. So that's a little bit about the compositions in Venetian works of art. There is still order, there's still visual balance, but the balance is now asymmetry, where the sides of the work of art are different, but they still maintain the same visual weight. And your eye is moved between the two sides using implied line.